today's tools is going to be a razor blade, masking tape, a mixing cup, a stir stick, your resin, your hardener, and your fiberglass mat.
Remember to always smash that like button, definitely subscribe, and always share this with your buddies so we can bring you these great boat builds. Thanks guys, now let's get into the project.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Brent Bridgman and you're watching the JFL boat build series here from Lewis Smith Lake. Well, at least for a little while longer. So join me, we're going to get into this build. It's a beautiful day, it's a little brisk, it's a little cold. But it's about 50 degrees today, so I don't know how much this is going to play into what we're doing. But man, do I got a show for you today. We kind of like took out the driver console, and we're having to take about 6 to 8 inches out of some of it, move it back and move it up. So we're about to get started. Let's get going. And today we're going to possibly try to also gel coat that seat pan for the first coat and get it white, weather permitting. So let's see. Let's do it. Okay, so as you can see, these are pictures of the old console, and with the movie magic, whoa, 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 whoa. All right, so we took the console and it turned into, oh my gosh, Brent, what did you do? All right, you guys. So let me explain. This is how much had to be cut out of the console. This is 5.5 inches from here to here. All right. And this is the front dash piece. We're going to disconnect the steering today. We do have the steering wheel, so we're going to see if the steering wheel fits this helm. And then also we left an inch on here because it has all the bracing. So all the bracing is on here. So we left that part alone. This is the support frame, which is also fiberglass, is a good thing. And the other piece to this is in there. So today we're going to get this plastic off of here by removing this helm. And then I've got some ideas for this dashboard. We're probably going to do it in chopped carbon fiber, but that's going to be a while out. And then this piece here is the console. As you can see, it was already ripped loose from here and here. So we're going to take care of that issue. And this will be rebonded to the original mount, and that I'm going to unbolt today. There's only 2 bolts that hold the original piece here down to the boat. But we're going to also come in here, because we don't want to lose the windshield. We're also going to come in here and we're going to cut this off, this nodule, calling this a nodule. We're going to take this piece, we're going to move it down and forward, and then whatever's down here in the end, we'll cut it flush so it'll look factory. That way we can still utilize the whole windshield. It'll just be moved back. What this does is it gets the steering wheel away from me and upward on a slant, because the new Ranger, the consoles are like this tall, where this console was this tall, but it was moved back here to where the steering wheel was almost touching the new seats. Well, the new Rangers are designed differently, with the consoles up and back, because in this, you sit on top of the tanks in this boat. So anyway, we're going to get into it. Today's going to be a fun day. We're going to get this console at least set up to where we can start fiberglassing the underside. So today you're going to need screws, your plywood little pieces. We're going to do some resin and some chop mat, and we're going to get this actually probably fiberglass back together today. It'll just be rough, and then when we come back next weekend, we're going to smooth it out. And this section here is going to stay red, and the rest of it will be white. I want to do the console white to match the white seat pan. There's too much red inside the boat, so I'm trying to break it up a little bit. So the white gel coat is already here. So when we do that, we're also going to do, we're going to make sure that the windshield fits next week. So these holes here will be filled. And then once we put the windshield, once we move this down where it needs to be, the windshield will get new holes, new mounting locations. And then the windshield will still be the factory windshield, and you'll hardly be able to tell what's happened, except the windshield used to end here, And now the windshield will probably be right almost at the bottom here, which is just fine. We'll still have the windshield, it'll still block the wind, but now we're gonna have lots of room for meters, lots of room for steering wheel. The new steering wheel is in, and I will put a picture of that right now. This is the new steering wheel. I love it. It's red, it matches the boat. I got it in a 12.5 inch because the last steering wheel was 13.5 inches. And I know an inch doesn't seem like much, but listen to your wife, an inch means a lot. So anyway, so we're gonna put that 12.5 inch steering wheel. It matches the boat really nice, but we'll do that after all this fiberglass is done because I don't want that steering wheel to get dusty, chalky, dirty like this. But anyway, all right, let's get into it. So what we need to determine, here's the screws. This here is the fiberglass piece for support, and it was located right here. And of course I had to cut it because it supports the steering wheel in combination with the console, makes it strong. So now when we come in with the new dash piece and we got to move it back 6 inches, now we're going to come back in here, see, and we need to determine where that's at, and then that will give us our space. But we can't do that until we get this piece mounted solid because this is just floating around. So I'm going to make this piece solid real quick, and then we can cut on it, move it, slant it. So this piece will eventually get fiberglass to the center console, the driver console. But right now it needs to stay here. So I make the modifications for the internal framing, which is this, and connects the dash to here. And then once we fiberglass this to the console, then we have a really solid piece, and it'll be moved back the 6 inches that we needed. And we're also giving it a wedge tilt. So before the steering wheel was straight up and down, and the steering wheel was about here, and it's only 4 inches from hitting the seat, so it was really cramped. It was in my lap. The bottom of the steering wheel sat right here. Now the bottom of the steering wheel will be here and this way, and it'll be more comfortable. The reason for this is the new Rangers, the console's way up here and way up here, and it has a tilt steering wheel because the seating area is higher. So what we need to do, these Z series boats, they're skinnier. The top of the console sat here. It still will, but it'll be back here. We're just going to move it back and tilt. So total up top will probably be 8 inches, and the bottom will still be 6 inches, but we're getting that steering wheel back 6 inches and the tilt. So that way the steering wheel, the bottom of the steering wheel will be here now. It'd be more comfortable, more leg room, because in these boats, you already were hitting your knees on the bottom of that console over the waves. And that's the most irritating part about a Z series boat, is that console's so low that you get in rough waves, it beats the bottom of your knees up, like the top of your legs, up your kneecap. So the first thing I did when I got this boat is I'm like, we're gonna move this console up. I didn't know we were gonna move it back, but now that the seat pan is fit and the seats are in there, it has to be back and it needs a tilt. What that's gonna do is raise the bottom of this console a little bit and give us enough leg room. So now when the hot foot is in here, you're not hitting your leg against the bottom of that console across the rough waves. Now, most of the lakes we go to are rough, especially the Great Lakes, things like that. 3 and 4 foot rollers, you're gonna wanna make sure that this thing isn't beating your legs up for 3 days, 4 days straight, because then you're just gonna have a rough day up front. So anyway, we're trying to make the boat as comfortable as possible. We're gonna have to spend a lot of time in this boat, so we wanna make sure it's right. All right, let's get on with it. Okay, so what we need to do is we're gonna put this in its stock location, but we're gonna screw it down. Actually, we're gonna clean this up a little bit. Let me grab a grinder real quick. All right. So what I did there was clean this surface here, because this is eventually going to be fiberglass solid to this. Okay, this is our main support for the dash, and all they had was a little bit of glue right here and 2 rivets. So it was still, even though it was strapped down, it was just moving everywhere. I mean, it was loose over the time. Now, when it was brand new, I'm sure it was tight and everything, but over the years of the waves and everything. But anyway, when we get done, this will be fiberglass solid to this. In fact, we could do this today. What we're going to do right now, though, is put it in its original position, right, which is there. And we're going to run 2 screws through it just to get the position, actually 3 screws. We're going to do that now because I want this to sit in its original position. And then I can glass it later once we know it's fit right. Okay, that's the original spot there because I followed the rivet. Let me get up on this step. We're going to go right where the rivet was. Right there. You want to make sure you go exactly in the original position, because I'm not going to run one right through there because it'll go through this. We already got 2 screws through there. So anyway, that's the original position of that. Yeah, that's strong enough. Okay, so now this is in the factory location, which is where you want it, because now you know everything fits. Because when a console's in here, the wiring runs that big behind here, and then the console sits like right here. So it's kind of like a little tunnel. So I want to make sure we maintain this part that's original. This will get glassed. Out of our cabosil, we'll make a paste, and we'll paste this down, and then I'll glass over the top of this to make this piece strong. And then when the console's in its location, then we'll paste it down, and I'll get inside and run some fiberglass chop mat in here once it's all one big unit. But right now, this is a good starting point for this, okay? I think what we're gonna do is mount the console, but I've got some repairs to do because when I was cutting it apart, taking it apart, it kind of ripped over here. So we wanna make sure we get this back in its location where it needs to be because it's on a bind. So that'll have to get fixed. And then how we're gonna do that is run a screw through here. All right. I'll bring you guys in a little closer. Okay, so this crack right here, you can see it from the outside. It's just wide open. So what we did is we ground around the inside really good. So we ground all in here, down the side, and then we're not gonna worry about the outside yet. Let me run a couple screws. Screws are your friends during fiberglass work. They're good for temporarily holding stuff together. So what we're gonna try and do is try to get a screw through here. Because if I can get a screw through here, then we can. Okay, that one screw pulled that in where we need it, okay? And that's just so we can fiberglass the inside. Once the inside's fiberglass, we can pull that screw out, then we can do the outside finish real nice and neat. I'm gonna run, now we're just gonna leave that one, okay. So what that did was that pulled that right in where we needed it to be, right? So now we've ground inside there, and so what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go grab some fiberglass. We're just gonna glass this right now so this can be setting up, because ultimately we can't do anything with this yet until this is fixed, because when we go to fit it here, the reason we have to do the repairs on this right now is because before we can make the measurements of fitting here, that console has to fit on this side perfectly, okay, with it all ripped and all that stuff. So as you cut this stuff apart and as you're moving stuff, you also have to make sure it's correct before you start fitting it. If I was to fit that right now with that messed up, then I get everything set and everything. Then when I go to actually do this repair, we're gonna be off 1/2 inch. So you got to do the repairs to the damage now, mount everything solid, and I know that doesn't look solid right now because it's not, but once we glass this to this, and then once this is glassed to that, and once the dash is glassed to that, it's going to be a really solid unit that bolts in. We got 2 big bolts here, 2 big bolts in the front, and a screw that runs through the side plate there. Then that console becomes solid, and then it needs to be solid because the steering wheel, your steering, all the meters, all that weight is on this. So this is the main support for all your electronics in your steering wheel. That's a lot of weight. I mean, just the hydraulic steering helm itself for the steering wheel is heavy. And so you got to make sure that this stuff is strong. Now, not picking on Ranger, but this is really shabby, Ranger. I mean, you're looking at this, but all the components put together, and if Ranger would have taken the time to actually make this solid fiberglass instead of 2 rivets, 2 screws, and some, looks like a plastic glue, it's all going back together with resin. So when I get done with this, we'll unbolt this piece after it's fitted, and then see, when we're fitting that piece and the dash, then this piece on the dash, this piece here, right, is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of here. Well, I'm going to run the screws, right? We're going to run the screws in here, and then when we do that, we know exactly where it needs to sit. So when we pull this unit, we screw it back together, then we can glass this all as one piece. Once this is glassed as one piece, then we glass that to this, then we're golden, and then it's right where it needs to be. In fact, this is about right there is where it's going to be on that angle. I think that's about where it's going to be. Maybe a little more like that, about like that, I think, which is exactly where I want it. So we're going to make the console fit this, and so the console will be really short, and then it'll have the windshield, and you won't really notice it. So I'm excited, man. It's looking good. So we're going to get it. Plenty of room for our legs, so they won't hit the bottom of the console. See, before it was down here. It was down here, like this. See the difference? We're coming back here like that. That's going to be way better. All right, this is heavy. All right, so now that I explained that, now you know why we're doing what we're doing. So anyway, we're going to mix up some resin and fiberglass. This, we'll move the camera so you can see. So I'm going to fill in these holes where there was a GPS unit, and the other one was for power cables for the meters. So we're going to fill these holes in while we're here, because we don't want these here. We want these other places. And this was old technology, and we don't want old technology on a boat. Making everything brand new on this boat. All right. So just a simple masking tape works. And all we're doing is filling this side from this side, and then it'll get finished on the other side, so it's nice. So what we're also doing here is we want to, let me grab my stool. Sorry for the sniffles, it's cold outside. All right, so what we're going to do is we want to tape off, of course, after I got all the glass out here, we want to tape off this edge so the resin doesn't leak out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do this like this, because we don't want the resin leaking out the bottom of that crack. And I'm going to mix this really hot, so it cures fast, because what I want to do is I want to get this thing fit today. I would like to have this entire console, the rough part of it, masked off today. Have it, I would like the console to be mostly structurally sound on the inside today. We won't get to the dash connected to that. We'll do that next weekend. But we're going to do a lot of stuff very quickly on this boat. So I had somebody ask in the comments, do you have to use a special kind of resin? No. When you're building like this, you can just use resin that I pick up. It's Bondo brand. It's just, I do shake it up, but you can buy this. I buy it at Home Depot, just Bondo brand, and liquid resin for fiberglass. And when you're doing just this stuff, I just tip it up, tip it down, tip it up. Ow, hit myself in the head. Ouch. But anyway, and then it comes with two things, the hardener. I'll use this acid brush to stir it. Now I got this old, these are cheap. This is about the third time I've used it. I rinse this off in acetone every time so I can reuse it. These are like $1.50 now, or $1.59. It's getting kind of expensive. I've got an old hardener, right? But there's enough in there for me to do this job. All right, let's get the lid off of here. All right, smells like resin. So in order to not make a mess, if you just grab this can like this, and I'm not going to need too much, but I want enough to finish the thing. So you can always mix more. So I just make sure I do this. Boom. All right. So for this little area, we're going to use, I just mixed up 8 ounces. Okay. 8 ounces should be just fine. And if it's not, then come back and do more. Keep that resin in a nice cool spot. Make sure this microphone's on. Yep, microphone. Let me move the microphone. It keeps hitting my chin. All right, so got that in there. And then we're just working in this area. And this, since this is the most main support, and I know this is on a bind, we're going to really get a ton of fiberglass in here to make this really strong, because this is what holds the weight. If you think about the weight of your meters, I'm telling you right now that hydraulic steering helm piece weighs at least 10 pounds. The dash, the console, all this probably weighs 20 pounds. Plus your meters and your brackets, you're probably looking at 45 pounds. So the only thing that holds that 45 pounds is this, a little corner right here, and this wall. So we better make this strongest, and then when we build this piece, it'll be stronger, because this boat originally wasn't built to hold all that weight of the new meters. So we're making it, we're revamping it. We're making it where it will hold it, okay? All right, so let's do that right now. It's got old resin. Oh, this is the one that fell in the resin pot. That's what happened. All right, mix that in there. That's way more than enough. That's gonna be too hot. It's gonna be too hot, too hot, too hot. But guess what? We're gonna get it going. Stir it up really good. Make sure you get it all. I just rotate that cup, hitting the walls. Make sure you're stirring all the way in the bottom. All right. This stuff is messy. I got some new sweatpants by the bottom specifically for doing fiberglass work. So here we go. All right. So what I do is I'm going to pour it on this wall, and it kind of will get it already in there. Now I'm going to take my brush, and I'm going to brush it up on the walls and up where I sanded, and in these holes where I want this stuff, right? So everywhere where you want the fiberglass, you want to get it wet. You always got to get it wet. It has to be wet. All the sanded area and holes got to be wet, because for adhesion, for penetration of the resin, it has to be wet. And what that does is it also preps that surface to accept the chopped mat that we're putting in it, okay? All right, so we're coming all the way up here. You see that? We got that hole. Now, technically, I could just do this right here, just what I did. I could just do that right there, and it'd be fine. But we're going to add some strength. So I hope you guys learned something on this. And then once it sets up, we can, I'm trying to think of something that needs fiberglass right now. All right. This is the used acetone right here. And we're going to pour it in here and watch. It's got a little bit of color to it like gasoline, but its cleaning ability is the same as just regular old acetone. Showing you a little, you know, now we can reuse the brush. I just shake it out. And I just take this and I pour it back into my can. I want to take off this steering helm, and it's easy with 4 bolts right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. But I can't do that right now because I need to fit this dash. Can you guys see that? So it's got these 4 stainless bolts. But the reason I don't want to move this is I want to get to, I guess it is what it is. I guess I could undo it. Yeah, I can undo it because it is what it is. Pull this out. Should pull right out. Should, but it's not. I'm telling you guys, this thing's pretty heavy. That's crazy how heavy that is. That thing is really heavy. See, while we got it out, we're gonna make sure we clean all this up so it looks brand new. This dash now should just come off because I got all the screws out. Yep. So that's all that was holding that up, but we're gonna clean this up. I got some ideas. So we'll address that, but this is basically the dash for the Ranger. This is what it looks like from the factory, which is kind of shabby. Jesus, look at that. It seems like they would make, I don't know. It just seems real shabby, that's all. All right, so the sun's about to go down, and I'm just gonna do some modifications real quick. Okay. Steering wheel's here. I think right here. We're really close. Huh. So I don't have to take out as much as I thought. This will have to be modified to fit the dash piece. I think what I'll do is I'll probably pie this, let that go in. So we're not too far off. We took all that out of there. So what I'll probably do is, we just repaired this where the stress cracks are, but we'll end up cutting it right there. That way this piece can come down where it belongs. We have to modify it into here, but the main thing is I want this piece back where it belongs, and then we'll just have to customize this piece because this sits above the top now, so I can just make it fit. I've got the broken piece out of here, so by just cutting this out and leaving this flat, this will bolt right back to where it belonged, exactly where it belonged. And then we'll just take a little bit out of the front. We're moving this piece anyway, so I think, let me grab the windshield. The windshield will sit like this. I think that's the only difference. And it's almost down there. So I'll move that nodule down. And then see, once this is sitting up here, then I'll have new holes in here and the windshield will be just fine. So we're right there. Like, that's crazy, but it's good. So we still keep our windshield. Let me sit right there. Sit that right there. Ah, come on. Let's sit the drill in front of it. Let's see how it looks from the front. Oh yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah, I like that. That'll work. So we got room for the meters. In fact, you know, that windshield on that incline, I know it looks like a lot, but that's how the new Rangers look too. But see, what we're not seeing is once I pie shape this, right? Once I cut this loose and lift this console to match here, because it will match here, this windshield will sit flush against this piece right here. And then I'll just add a V here. I'll fill this area in. It's got stress cracks anyway, so I was gonna have to really dig this out. So now we'll just cut it. And then the windshield will be a 1/4 inch off here. And it'll fit right where it needs to fit, right up in here. And we're solid. I don't have to cut the windshield, don't have to modify the windshield. And then my meters will still sit here, and they'll actually be kicked back, and then you can adjust them in, you know what I'm saying? So that's not an issue either, because that bracket sticks out like here, and I'll make it so it sits flat, and then the steering wheel will sit, you know, like this here. Got lots of leg room, got plenty of room for the seat. I'm not offended. Let's look at this angle. I'm not offended with this angle at all. Like, it looks great. You know, so I think it's going to be really nice. Of course, don't look at this. You're looking at this. This is the top of the dash. And then this piece will be up. So you won't even see this. This piece will be up. So that's what we got. That's exactly what we got. And this will be simple. This piece will come back down here. So this right here will sit right flush with this. And then we'll make a new piece right in here. And that's our switch panel. It's dialed. Gave me a lot more room, plenty of room for now the hot foot down here. So, you know, it's all business. Well, it's been a crazy day, and I know sometimes I do things where you're like, what the heck? But anyway, at the end of the day, it all makes sense. And the beautiful part of fiberglass is you can never be afraid to do things. And remember, screws and tape and ratchet straps are your best friend. I'm Brent Bridgman, and I hope that if you learned something today, and the further we go along in this boat, you'll realize that nothing should scare you when it comes to fiberglass work. And yes, we've got to make some fancy trim panels over there to make that look nice where there's a gap where the dash used to be. But that's a simple, very simple, building it out of cardboard like we did on this seat pan. I promise we'll get this seat pan in gel coat soon, but I want to make sure that the driver's seat, console, everything fits. I also want to make sure that everything in the boat is comfortable. And I just want to make sure that we've got lots of safety. I want that console to stay still. I don't want it to move. I want the seat pan to stay still. I don't want it to move. I've got a whole new setup for the underneath of it. I'm going to make some actual brackets that hold this. I'm going to have to build it out of pressure treated wood so that seat pan sits on the brackets, so it's not sitting on the tanks. So I'll run 2 down the middle and 1 on each side. Those will be fiberglassed in. They'll be fully encased in fiberglass. And then the seats will actually bolt down to that. And the middle will still have a knob just to hold the very center of the back, just for looks. But it'll be fancy. And the reason I left that circle in the middle, guys, is it reminds me that this seat pan is out of the original JFL boat build Viper boat. And I always want to have that, you know, with us because, yeah, we're going to rebuild that boat. But we're going to give it away at 100,000 followers. When YouTube channel, this channel, JFL Boat Build Series, hits 100,000 people, somebody's going to win that 21-foot Viper boat. It'll have a new transom, new floors, it'll be carpet, and it'll have the top cap totally refinished. It'll be like a brand new boat. It's like a empty canvas. You can put whatever trolling motor you want on it. You can put whatever motor you want on it. It does have Evinrude controls and gauges, and they're old school, so I would redo them. But anyway, thanks for joining me. I appreciate the likes, the shares, and if you could get people to subscribe, it's free. There's no fee on my channel. If you notice, I don't run commercials either. I want you guys to get the best information, not be afraid of fiberglass, and always remember, if you have any questions, just ask. The comments are wide open. I'm not afraid to help somebody get through a project. And then, as you can see, I'm not scared to cut up a perfectly normal console or seat pan or anything. So this boat's going to be slightly amazing. Sorry, neighbor kids decided to ride bikes right before dark. Like I said, the sun's already gone down. It's a lot darker than what you're seeing. It's just, you know, we've got that on 32 frames per second, and it's bringing in a lot of shutter light. But it's getting dark here where I can't see, but I wanted to show you guys we got pretty far today. We got that mounted where we want it, and from here on out it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to finish this project. I got word today, just an hour ago, that the people are giving me a counter offer on a shop, so they're not going to like that because I gave them my highest best price. Anyhow, like I said, I'm not going to worry about it too much. We'll get it figured out, and for now, yeah, just stay clean, stay safe, and always wear your protected PPE, masks, and eye protection. I'm out. Neighbor kid. I'm out. Neighbors are riding bikes. I have no idea why. Squirrels are gone. Now we got dirt bikes. Have a good day. Brent's out.
You can join Brent at TikTok at Just Fish Lures.
Thank you.